man.
Can I keep you? Okay.
Before she enters any room, she wants a hype man to get her in there. Nikki, hello. Thank you for being with us. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Good. So you've got a new record coming out, Highway Queen. But really, your last record didn't even come out 2 years ago at this point. Like, what were you just really inspired? Are you in a hurry to get back in the studio?
Oh, I think that some people might think I'm actually behind schedule, so I'm very comfortable.
Those people are crazy.
I like kicking it with you. No, I wasn't in a hurry. You just get to a point where people are asking for new music, and you've been writing it and compiling it the whole time you were on the road. So it just becomes time. Winter tour slows down and it's time to get to work and get ready for spring.
You recorded your last album, All or Nothing, with Dan Auerbach in Nashville. And I think you relocated to New York for this one. Why did you want to mix up sort of your environment?
Well, we recorded it in New York and then in Texas and in Nashville. And it was more just about traveling and not like having an opportunity to be off. I don't know if you know, but my manager owns Electric Lady Studios, which is here. So you don't turn down an opportunity. So we had 10 days off from tour, and we went in and we recorded there. And then I was like still searching for more material. So when we were in Texas, my boyfriend Jonathan Tyler said, "Do you want to come in and record?" And you just keep taking the opportunity, which is I think why this is my favorite record so far, because I got to explore and figure out what I like before we put it out.
So there is also a song called Highway Queen on it. And you said it's about travel. Is that why you wanted to name the album after that song?
Yeah, I mean, middle of the way through, you know, I had joked around with Rolling Stone that I wanted to be the first first lady of Outlaw Country, which is like a very bold statement, but I was kind of fooling around, you know. It was just like one, you know, I say one sentence here. I don't really plan on having to live it out forever. So I was like, well, I guess that's a little bold. So what am I? And then, you know, you're just like driving. I was like, oh, I guess I could be the Highway Queen. My dad's an asphalt paver, so it made sense.
You were born for this.
So it was the name of the record before it was a song, because I was thinking that it'd be the name of like a truck. I could get my own truck.
And then you worked with Jonathan Wilson on this, I think, right?
Well, not the one you're listening to.
Okay, not the one
I made a whole record.
Okay,
and
so
then
this
Jonathan
is what I was trying
Tyler, the cute guy in the back, we ended up making the record with me that we kept because I got to co-produce it with him, which was like, it just turned out that's what I wanted to do.
So at what point in your process of working on a different collection of music are you sure that the move is, let's abandon this, let's start again, let's get a new vision going?
I think what I learned is it's when you're not listening to it all the time. Like the second we recorded Jackpot, I got in the car and I drove around in circles and listened to it over and over, and I knew that it was my favorite song on the record. You know what I mean? And the second we got the finished record, like mixed, I just listened to it over and over again. And I think for an artist, that's when you know it's good. If you're not like pulling it up or trying to send it to people like before they're supposed to have it, like you got to keep going.
Right. You've said before that your records sort of reflect where you are in your life. So what should a listener of Highway Queen be hearing? Like, where are you right now? What is this show?
Well, through the last couple years, which was what was happening, you know, I feel like I came to terms with the fact that sometimes you pick relationships you think you're all the way in, and life just tells you that wasn't like a permanent thing. And so that's what took place, you know, during All or Nothing. And this last couple years has just been about, you know, learning to be a musician and just not to talk about being one, but to go out and tour and to see all of these people and to learn to juggle having a personal life with that. And I think that's part of what made this record kind of come to completion the way it did, with the song I just mentioned before, Jackpot, again, because I realized that I could find, you know, love and success and traveling and maybe balance them all together.
You can have it all, folks.
Well, you can try. You can juggle it.
I'm curious, you know, you said being away is sort of a lot that motivated this. What was the process? How many years did that take before you felt like you were balancing?
The whole time. You know, I feel like I'm just now getting there. Like I'm stalling because I know that my tour starts in 2 weeks. And so I'm refusing to do things, which you don't turn down. Like, this is so exciting. This was on the plate like 2 weeks ago, you know what I mean? So you constantly want to say yes to things, but just finding the opportunity to spend time with my dogs and my home, like, it seems like it's not that big of a deal until you don't get to go back for 3-4 months. And then you realize that, like, the relationships that you were nurturing kind of start to fade. So I'm still learning to get home and to call my godson and his family right away, because otherwise you lose sight of that, and you don't want to be alone. Like, you know, you don't want to come home and not have those things anymore.
Totally. I know that you said before your, or maybe after your very first performance ever, you broke out in hives.
Yeah.
What role, like, do you still feel nervous before a stage? Or where is
No,
this?
I think I popped the cherry, if you will. You know, it's like I was so scared. I didn't even know it. I just saw white, and then I finished, and I said, I don't feel good. I don't think I can see. And she said, oh, Lord, and like, my, you know, top to bottom hives. And now, you know, like the scariest things were like doing like Conan or doing the Grand Ole Opry, because the show is rolling, and if you jump in and you mess up your 3 minutes, like you just look dumb. Like the show's not gonna like rearrange itself for you being unable to pull it off. So those things give me the jitters. But then I remember that like if I look closely, like see, I know someone, and that makes it, you know what I mean? It's like they're just people, you know what I mean? And we're all humans. So as long as you can like own up to it, you know, you can get comfortable just knowing that that's what you're here for.
You know, we always hear stories about Adele used to just throw up before every concert. She would say, that's when I knew I was ready. You know, as soon as I had puked, I could go on stage.
That's what our team does. We cry in the bathtub.
But I wonder, like, how do you get over that? Like, how did you know when it was obviously a very hard experience the first time? Why were you committed to trying again and not breaking out in hives, I guess, the second time?
What happened when we were done? There's a 4-track recording of the first song I sang live, and I apologize, and people yell. Like, they loved it. You know what I mean? It's like, if you're good at it and people are giving you positive reinforcement, it at least encourages you to continue trying. You know what I mean? Like, becoming an artist for a living is definitely like committing to doing hurdles forever.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But it's just the positive reinforcement. It's coming out here. It's saying that we were going to play yesterday and having a room full of people and knowing that, well, somebody wants you to do it, so you might as well get up and go.
What was the biggest hurdle? Speaking of hurdles, like, what was the hardest thing maybe for you to get over to adopt this lifestyle?
Not being in my house. Like, you know, that why I'm the highway queen now.
Right.
The highway queen's a make-believe character that doesn't mind sleeping in a Holiday Inn every night.
Right, that's true. You mentioned Outlaw Country earlier. I wonder, you know, that is a term that gets thrown around a lot right now with Sturgill and Chris Stapleton having big years. Is that where you see yourself fitting in the genre? Do you feel like the label is even worth still throwing around? How does that work?
Well, I think that it's definitely, if we're being realistic, something that belongs to a genre that there are only a couple members left to take part in. Willie Nelson, like, you know what I mean? So we're definitely taking on a moniker that we don't deserve to call our own by saying Outlaw Country. But I think you have to try to identify with words that other people can relate to. So when people say I sound like Loretta Lynn and Wanda Jackson, no, I'm not that good. Like, I wish, you know, but like nobody's kidding themselves, but like they want to relate you to that instead of, I don't sound like Katy Perry. Like, you know what I mean? They have to, you have to make it relatable. And I think we're just trying to take on something. I can't call myself country because country's pop country, and pop country has like drum tracks. So, you know, I have to say outlaw so you understand I mean a little bit more rock and roll than that.
Yeah, I guess I wonder too, like right now with like Sturgill Simpson being up for Album of the Year, Chris Stapleton selling a lot of records, do you feel like the music that you make and the vein of music that you make is like having a moment in the sun? Like, do you feel like you're able to break through more mainstream
I call
audiences?
them like the gate openers.
Okay.
Like the Strokes. Like Sturgill's like the Strokes of like country, you know, alt country. Like, he's opening the door, and there are so many more of those artists in East Nashville in like a 4-mile radius, you know what I mean, that just need a light shown on them. And so it's wonderful when a couple of these guys from our crew are like becoming the kings of the land, because they're kind of making way in the pop country world and in the Nashville world, which is just a whole machine, you know what I mean, for us to kind of come and say, oh, like, we're cool, and we sing, and we wrote the song, and I picked my outfit. Like, no one did this for me. Like, you know,
totally.
Which is really the difference.
The opening song of this album actually references country and the machine that is country music, 700,000 Rednecks.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most sort of like wonderfully abrasive album openers I've heard in a while. Can you just kind of take us through what inspired that? And why you wanted it first song even.
Yeah, well, the Yippie Kiyay, I think it just kind of wakes you up. We start a lot of shows with it. We will tonight, because if people, especially as an opener, if people are kind of lulling around and wondering what's going to happen. We want to kind of like get them in the door immediately.
Right.
And very few times have I regretted doing it, because you want everybody to be present when you do it, you know. But we were here in New York at Electric Lady, and we were recording a Christmas song, and we started talking about my hometown, and I said that I figured there was about 700,000 people there.
Okay.
There's 60,000. I was drinking a little,
Off
I think.
by a few.
And I was off by just, just a fair amount.
That comma gets misplaced all the time, you know?
But I was just like, well, I know, right?
Right.
Alternative facts. So I got really excited, and I said, oh, if I had 700,000 redneck fans, because I was also generalizing and saying that everyone where I'm from is a redneck, which my mom's friends would not appreciate.
You were from outside of Greenville, South Carolina, by the way, for everybody.
Yeah, so, and I meant that as a favorable term. Like, that's like the kind of company I want to keep. So I was like, oh, if I had 700,000 of those, like, I'd be kind of set.
Right.
So I made a joke about it, and it's like you drive around in circles because you're basically trying to wrangle rednecks, if you're me. So and it kind of worked. We made a little patch that says one of 700,000, and people are buying them. So I'm starting a crew.
Well, you're used to selling things as well. You've got
Selling things is my favorite thing.
No, but you've got, you collect vintage stuff and you sell it as well. Can you tell me how you even got into this?
Yeah, right down the street. I know you guys a lot of you aren't here, but we're on Broadway in New York City, and on West Broadway, just right over there, I used to manage What Goes Around Comes Around.
Right.
I worked, 5 or 6 retail jobs here.
Right.
Buying and selling things was my passion. Like, I truly just wanted to figure out how to create a really cool jean brand, or and spread it around. But when I started playing music, I started juggling, how to make a transition. So I moved to Nashville, and then I was like, well, I don't know how to pay for anything if I'm gonna tour all the time. So I started buying and selling antiques while we were out. And I'm sure anybody's gone to a flea market, in their hometown, and there's incredible stuff sometimes that you're not quite sure what it is, and someone might have thrown away, but you're holding on to. Well, I started eBaying and looking it up, and some of that junk was worth like $600. So I started snatching it up and kind of cataloging it and putting it away. And for the first 2 years, High Class Hillbilly, which is what it's called, paid for me to play music.
Right.
And now the store, or we kind of pay for the store to stay open. You know what I mean? Like, and one day they'll both be huge, I think, if
That's
everything,
awesome.
if I,
We get it.
Dreams.
So, like, on any given tour day, is that what you're doing in any city? Just kind of wandering around,
Antiquing.
finding out what you can find antiquing?
I've been negotiating with the boys a new travel plan. In between a van and a bus, I was trying to get a second vehicle that's for me, so that I can come to the show later after I antique.
I'm sure they love that.
They don't want me to do it, which surprises me. I thought they would feel free of hearing me talk in the van for 6 hours.
Nope, they want you with
They
them.
want my driving shift.
Yep, there's also a song called Muddy Waters, which is a wonderful play on also being about a river and muddy waters. But the blues musician, Muddy Waters, was he a big influence for you?
Not so much a big influence until Dave Cobb pointed him out to me when I was making my first record, but something I was paying close attention to. I like throwing subtle references to things like that, but like that obviously, like if you hear the lyrics of Muddy Waters, has a much darker tone in just kind of murking up our society, which is something I think I experienced when I wrote that song I was saying today, because I realized they had paved over the cobblestone that was on Wythe. Down by the river, and I was devastated that anyone would get rid of it, although I was saying no girl wants to walk on cobblestone in heels, so I guess just eliminate the history.
Finally, somebody's sticking up for the ladies,
Yeah. Have you ever done that?
Walked on cobblestone and hills?
Yeah.
Yes, I've tried.
I used to go to Savannah every year for they would dye the river, and they had a St. Patrick's Day parade, and you would wear like your nicest heels, and then you would get out there and be like, this was the dumbest idea I've ever had in my life.
I'm glad those days are behind you. Speaking of Dave Cobb, you are actually touring with his cousin coming up, Brent Cobb. What are you looking forward to there?
I think just creating new camaraderie. We ran into him at Music Fest, and Stagecoach is, doing a cool thing, the Spotlight Tour, where they're letting us and Brent Cobb and Jonathan Tyler and Robert Ellis for some dates go out and kind of introduce us to some of the markets that they're hoping they can kind of get to come to Stagecoach. And so in doing so, they open up an avenue for us to spend time and write music, sing together, play together. It's nice to have that support, and also to like the artists that you're going out with.
Right, that's nice. I mean, he's got a beautiful album out as well right now. That's it for me. We're going to take some questions from the audience now.
Okay.
I have one talking about buying and selling. What's the story with the boots?
Oh, you know what? I can't remember where I got these boots, and I'm dying. But they were made in Mexico, and they're cow hair on hide, right? And they had a name tag on the back of them, but it was sticking out, you know, the boot pole, and it had the brand. And I said I'm smart enough to remember it, so I cut it off. And now I've been on eBay every day. They're really nice, huh? They're falling apart, but I don't want them to die, so I'm just only wearing them sometimes.
There you go. Special occasion.
What do you do when they're bald? You love
Not a
them,
question I've ever had to ask.
anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Hello. First
Hi.
of all, you're absolutely amazing. I find your music to be really authentic in a world of often overproduced sound, right?
Thank you.
How do you define your sound, and how has Nashville inspired it?
Well, Nashville created the freedom to do it. I think I wrote a lot of my first songs with other Nashville songwriters. At first, I thought that was laborious because it was like an assignment from my publisher. And then I realized the way it opened my vantage point to how many ways you could go about writing a song. I always have a hard time putting those words, those terms on how my music is. But I think I just say that I try to keep a really loose rock and roll band together playing country songs and just trying to have a good time. And it kind of just comes across, you know, as it is. And then when we talk about making music and writing songs, I just like to say that I like to create mixtapes because I can't create a concept album that focuses on one energy. I think it's about maybe the authenticity comes from capturing all the emotions that kind of take place.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good.
I could get used to this. This is
Yeah,
kind of
right?
fun.
You have such a beautiful and positive spirit, and I see that now as like we're speaking and how you've done this interview. And I was just kind of wondering, how do you maintain that through a very hard industry?
Thank you. I would say that it's my team. It's that group of people that are back there. I might like get all teary thinking about it. Like, this is the hardest job I ever have even considered. It seemed like the most glamorous one. Like, you get to be on stage and you get free shoes, but it's really draining, you know, to try to give up your creativity to let people judge it freely, which, you know, sometimes you read something you wish hadn't been written and you can't do anything about it. You were offering it up for them to judge, you know, so it creates a vulnerability that I never thought I would encounter, and it's really about having a team and maintaining relationships with people that are reminding you that it's worth it and kind of holding you up when you don't feel like standing. Thanks.
That's awesome. You guys, Highway Queen is currently available for pre-order. All of her tour dates are also on her website. I'm going to get out of here, and Nikki's going to perform.
Thanks.